All right, and then go live on this one.
I should stay here or should I switch to Instagram?
No, no, no. Just no, you just stay here. Stay here. I think it should be
Okay.
all. I think this is. I think we are live right now. Um,
Awesome.
let's see. Let's see. Hopefully, this is going as I imagined it. All right. Yep, I see people joining. Great, great. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another live behind the scenes series of the Carry On Anthology. Today we have Mr. Shiferaw Yinessu, which is one of our
Hey, bro.
brilliant, brilliant creators on this anthology. Um, thank you so much, Shife, for joining. Um,
Thank you
I,
for having me, bro.
of course, of course. I started becoming aware of your work when I mean you used to do just character sketches first of all, which are like amazing. But you remember when you published Our Robos or Our Robos? I don't know how you titled that series.
Or Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its
Ouroboros.
own tail. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yes, that sci-fi tale.
Yeah.
That was like, man, this guy, I need to have on our next anthology. So I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy and glad that you're on this one. I think you knocked it out the park. But for folks who don't know you, I want them to get to know you. And so I'm gonna start out with easy questions. Okay, easy
Mhm.
questions first. So the first thing I always like to ask is, before you were, a creator, an artist, you were a fan of different stories, and I wonder what story when you were young made you want to draw, made you want to get into this field, and just gave you a spark of that joy.
Uh, I think like one of my first memories is just drawing. I've always loved drawing, but in terms of like stories, I think it was Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Mm.
And but like the first thing I ever read was the Bible. So it was a very fantastical experience for me as a kid.
Yeah.
Uh, I yeah. So I think Journey to the Center of the Earth is one of the first sci-fi novels ever written. Like it was, I think 17th century uh, novel, and that got my imagination running wild for a long while. Like when I was a kid, so that got me really excited. That got me
Mm-hmm.
into sci-fi. Yeah,
You know,
but I've always been drawing.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, sorry. I don't mean to cut you. Go ahead, please.
No, no, I'm just saying. Like I've always been drawing. It's not a particular movie or like story that got me like into like drawing comics or doing character sketches. I've just always had drawing as a hobby, like as long as I remember.
Yesterday I was talking to Ayana, and he was mentioning how religion and faith has such a big influence in Ethiopian culture. And you mentioned the Bible here, and how you also grew up around that. Do you feel the same way in that in our community that influence is very significant, whether you're a religious person or not, or just does it have a significant influence on artists and especially emerging artists? What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely, I'm not religious at all,
Yeah.
but I do love like I don't know, the religious heritage in our culture. I really love this cross. It's the Afro Baigaba. Do you know about this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like it's the afro like here, and this are supposed to be like the 12 disciples, and this
Oh,
is Jesus. This is Jesus with an afro. This is like
wow.
an Ethiopian cross. But I love the tradition and the Bible. I didn't read it like religiously. This was like way back. This is like one of the first books I ever read, and I
Yeah.
read it almost like as a fiction. It was just still a fantastical story for me. I'm not religious at all, but uh, faith is I mean, 99% of like Ethiopians say like faith or like a belief in God is like super important to them. So growing up around the culture, like family, like the society, like all of the big religious ceremonies that happen like every year, like so that does tend to like influence you or like inspire you in some way or sorts.
I agree. Let me move on to my next question. So you've been in this creative field for a little while now. What are some misconceptions that people, especially younger emerging artists, may have about this profession that you want them to know? Now that you have a little bit of experience into it, what are the common misconceptions that you found?
I don't know. Never really thought about it.
Mhm.
Like in terms of like the comic book industry, like storytelling, like the creative industry in general.
Yeah, the creative industry in general, whether it's comics or animation, whatever you feel like you can comfortably have experience on and talk about.
I feel like a lot of people that I talk to like tell me like like this is something like you're born with or like you have to have like innate talent to like get into the industry or try to write a story or pick up a pencil. I feel like that's a big problem because I feel like almost anybody can as long as you get into it with like at least like an enthusiastic like an approach, like I think most people can find a certain value in it. And then I'm really against this innate talent
Mhm.
thinking. uh, yeah, most people have. They're
Mhm.
like most people think like you're either born with it or not. So but I feel like people who have passion or at least want to try it can get far in any field, in any
Mm,
artistic endeavor.
so you're among the hard work beats talent um, team in that debate of, hey, innate talent versus just like working hard with what you have.
Definitely. Like I feel like talent is almost like a negative because I feel like I've had talent like throughout and like though I was not conscious, like people used to say, "Oh, well, you're so good at like whatever you do," blah 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 blah. Even when I never considered being like in this field or like started my artistic journey. And talent, like I feel like it actually is a negative because it makes you lazy. Like you don't try as much.
Mm,
And but at the end of the day, to get anywhere at any point in your journey, there is like a lot of hard work. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of immersion you have to do in something you're interested in. And talented people, like I feel like hard work beats talent any day. It's not
mm.
that talent is bad, but like it might make you like quite reluctant to push yourself as much as somebody who would think like I have a lot to go and is like constantly trying to upgrade.
Yeah, and I think that is very true. That you exemplify that, and you know how I know. I remember, when we were working on the anthology, this one time you shared with us about how, your right hand was, you're having a hard time with your right hand, or you got hurt, but then you started training with your left, and how that quickly developed into becoming one of your working really like almost as equally as your right hand, you're working with your left. And that just for me is pure example of your work ethic and how much what you just said is exemplified, that hard work will always catch you up to that, industry standard. Which was amazing, by the way. Like I did not know that's how our brains work.
Same. It was a surprise to me. Like I never know I was like ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Uh, but like apparently like you're like our brains are like so there's this thing called neuroplasticity, and apparently whatever your right hand or like your one of your limbs can do, the other one can pick it up. And it's
Mm,
actually a very good practice to try to do like stuff with your non-dominant limbs. Like if you're a righty, like start like writing or like even like brushing your teeth with your left. It's really helps with like creativity and building new neural connections. And I feel like I don't know. I would never have tried, drawing with my left if I hadn't like messed up my right one. But it was a really good experience. Now I feel like I can at least, take a load off from my right with my left, at least like in terms of like storyboarding, not like finished artwork. So yeah, it's I feel like in any endeavor, like I feel like hard works it's one of the keys to getting you to where you want to be in your career.
I mean, I'm telling you, like having your arm hurt or your drawing arm especially is one of the nightmare situations for an artist. And what you just described about how you can use your left and train your left, and that is just I feel like an artist hearing that would hear that as a huge relief. But let me quickly check if reset the room sort of, and check if there are any questions. So folks who are just joining us, thank you for joining us. We are talking with the talented Shiferaw Yinessu from the Carry On Anthology. And he's kind of walking us through his kind of creative journey, his process. If you're just joining us, and let me see if there are any questions. Wow, okay, somebody complimenting your ambidextrous talent there. And then I see a question, or is this a comment? That one is just a comment on the stolen and returned artifacts. Okay. And then just people just saying, what's up, what's up, what's up. Okay. All right. Let me go on to the next question.
Folks are asking me like if they can join on my Instagram, or should I like direct them to Comics story?
It should show up on both. If not, at a minimum, I mean, if they it should definitely show up on ours. I'm hoping that it's already showing up on yours as well.
I don't think so. I'm getting a couple of messages, but like I just told them to go check it on Comics.
Okay, yeah, please do. This, as I told you, like I'm trying this new whole StreamYard streaming thing, and so the technical side of it, it's my fault. I should have figured out earlier how it actually kind of plays out. Yeah,
no worries. I think they can link to it on. So
okay. All right. Let me ask my next question. Okay, so 5 years from now, you wake up, you check your phone, and you got a message from somebody you admire. Okay, they've seen your work, they love it. Who is this person, and what do you think they're saying about your work?
Like an artist, like somebody that inspires me?
Yeah, an artist. It could be an artist. It could be in any industry. Whoever it is that you look up to.
Dead or alive? Dead or alive?
Good question. You know what? I'm gonna make it either one, whichever one you prefer.
Okay, so I would go for like the sci-fi granddaddies like Isaac Asimov and Jules Verne, because like he was my first introduction into this world. Yeah, I would go for those two guys.
Wow. So you're really a sci-fi guy.
I like sci-fi and fantasy. Like apparently, like there's this short story called the Last Question or the Last Answer, and that's a very short story by Isaac Asimov. And if you go read that, and if you go check out Ouroboros, they have identical structures. They're like, and yeah, somebody commented like, have you read the short? Not like they're almost identical, and I feel like a lot of sci-fi writers, they pull from the same ether or whatever, and I feel like he especially like Asimov was like a genius of his time. So I don't know, him complimenting or like I don't just commenting anything on my stuff would be, I don't know, a miracle, given the fact that he has passed away.
Wow. Okay. I like that. What was the book that you were recommended, or the short? I really want to see it and compare it to yours.
The last question. It's like almost like the theme is identical, the structure is identical. It's it's just like a comic book version of his like written short story. I don't know, it's very similar, and they both have this cyclical structure.
You haven't you didn't read that or anything before you did
No,
your
no,
fiction,
no.
right? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I was aware of Asimov, especially like the I Robot and some of his like earlier fiction, but
Yeah.
I've never really read his short stories.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's very interesting because the whole. I'm sure as somebody who's somewhat familiar with the Bible, nothing's new under the sun. You know, quote comes to
yeah,
mind. We're all,
yeah,
all all creating the same thing in just different ways and different eras. So that's very interesting. Um,
yeah.
next question for you is. Uh, do you have a non-comic, non-animation related thing that fuels your creativity? Something completely separate, unrelated that you enjoy, that just kind of somehow ends up bleeding into your creative work.
Daydreaming. I'm a yeah, I'm a big daydreamer. I put on my headphones. I put on like I don't know, some gaming soundtrack or like I don't know, movie soundtracks, and I can just walk for around an hour, a couple of hours, just daydreaming. And sometimes it's very unproductive, and like I don't know, but I feel like that is like the machine that's behind like all of my ideas. To be honest,
Hmm.
it is yeah. I don't
Wow.
know if it's like a therapeutic coping mechanism or whatever, but like it is kind of where I get almost all my ideas for my
You know,
stories.
I know for sure there's a lot of people who can vouch for walking as a way to generate ideas, make your subconscious work and bring ideas to the front. Um, Maybe that's also in a way daydreaming. Um, and that's so interesting that you say that. How regularly would you say you do this? Do you do it like every day?
Every day. Sometimes I would say it's almost crippling. Like I have to, stop it and like do something productive, like sketch or like write out my ideas or storyboard them.
Yeah.
But it is, yeah. Sometimes it's very frequent.
Wow. And how long does
They
it walk? An hour or more?
usually an hour every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And like anytime certain types of like music come up, you just like, and it's very intense. Like I don't know, you lose track of your surrounding. You can't like hear what people like. Somebody might be calling you and just zoned out, and it's a it's a weird feeling. Yeah, I guess that's part of my process.
okay. Okay. That's very interesting to me. Um, let's talk about Carry On Anthology. Um, what is of course I know your story, but from your creative perspective, what is the core emotion or idea that you want readers to take away after reading your story?
Yeah, I don't want to give a lot of spoilers,
Yeah.
because like it's very concept heavy. Like,
Yeah.
but like the uh I guess the big idea would be like looking back into our past and realizing that mm, we all have like our common ancestors from Africa, and the challenges, the journeys that they went through. It's universal, it's human, it's repeating, it's cyclic, it's happening every day. And the way we view our current situations might be migration or like immigrants or just borders in general. I feel like we could benefit from looking back at our past and realizing where all this like civilization, human life, everything came from. So it's about like I don't know, looking in the mirror and uh, checking out what's behind us, so we can like have informed decisions and perspective about what's happening right now.
That I think that's very well said, and I like how you balanced providing that info without giving too much spoilers. From when I read your story, it was about belonging and what does it mean to belong. And I found that you expressed that very beautifully and powerfully, as I'm sure you've seen from the reactions of all the other creators, much like myself. So I'm very, very excited for folks to check this out. And then, as a reminder for folks who just joining us, Carry On Anthology will launch May 6th, just in 3 weeks or even less than 3 weeks. So if you haven't yet, go to the link in my bio and get your name listed on the launch list, and you'll be notified. All right, let me quickly check audience comments and questions. Okay, there is a question here. It says, "Do you use your art to bring to life your daydreams?" That's a very interesting question.
Okay, so my daydreams are very crass. Like if you saw my daydreams, you'd just like judge me instantly. I use them to fuel my ideas in a sense. Like daydreams are like automatic. Like in the creative process, you have to be like somehow conscious of it. But like daydream, they're automatic. It's just I don't know. I feel like there's mostly wish fulfillment. So they're very crass. They're very crude. uh, but like I use them to I don't know, explore scenes or ideas or emotions, or just sometimes just basically understanding how I'm feeling, and then I'll have like this quiet peace of mind, and then I can just go back to to my mm, projects. Yeah,
Mm, mm. That
yeah.
it's so
But if you
familiar.
saw my daydreams, bro, like nobody would just talk to me. Like people would get shun me. For
You
sure.
know, there's actually a comment that somebody's like, "That's why you don't answer my calls." So, but man, that feels that resonates so much with me because sometimes that's what writing feels like. When I'm writing like a first draft work, it's all just like just throw whatever you have at it, right? It's not an idea that's actually formed and crystallized. Like the final product is so far removed from the first draft, and your daydreams feel like the first draft. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
that's so interesting. It's like you're sculpting, you have this like blob, and then you just sort of start to sculpt and then make the final product.
Exactly. Like if you're ultra conscious about like the first stage, if you you're never gonna get it done. So you should have like a mechanism, like a way of like getting out like the ugly stuff, and then like you said, you have to sculpt it and make it into something pretty. Initially, it's almost always ugly, and you have to be okay with that, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, this is amazing. I have one last question for you, and then you can let us know where folks can support you, follow you, and all that stuff, and we'll end with that. My last question is, if somebody right now watching or who's going to watch after the recorded session is dreaming to be like you, right? He's watching you and he's
Like
like,
me,
"Oh
what?
my goodness." Not the daydream, maybe the daydream, who knows? Uh, but if they want to be like you, what is the one tip or advice you would give them to get to where you are? You can also see it like advising your younger self. Hey, this is the one thing I wish I had done earlier. Um, Take it away.
Self-censorship. Like I don't know. I feel like I've done this. Like I wish I did this like years ago. I'm still trying to do it. Like holding yourself back. I think like if you want to do art, if you want to say something, if you have something important to say, if you want to get your comics or like anything or music across, I think the first problem is not like the environment. It's not like people around you. It's not the industry. It's usually you're the problem. Like you're holding yourself back because maybe you don't think you're stuff is quite as good, or just different reasons, the way like we judge ourselves from putting work out there. I think like that's the biggest hurdle most artists or creative people have to jump or like pass through. And once you've past that hurdle, once there's no self-censorship, once you are you let go of yourself and just create for the fun of it, I think that is like uh, the breakthrough like most artists need, in terms like breakthroughs are not opportunities. Like once you pass the psychological barrier and you're able to create, just like as a you were as a kid, like you really didn't care what's happening on the paper in front of you. I think getting to that state is the most essential thing express yourself. And yeah, it's not easy, but like focusing on that, I think would help a lot of people.
And then would you say there are specific things you did to help you tap into that?
Starting small. I don't know. First, when I started comic, my ambitions were like to do like a whole graphic novel, like this big trilogy, or like whole animation movie, blah blah blah. But like starting very small. It might be like a one-panel comic. It might be like a four page or whatever it is. Starting small will give you the confidence to build your skills, understand your process, check out your weaknesses or your strengths, or even figure out what you're interested in as a writer or an artist. So starting small is like, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest keys to getting there.
That's very well said. I have one more question. I'm sorry. I just thought of it. Burnout. How do you manage burnout? Because I feel like you're the type of artist, like you said earlier in the interview, hard work beats talent. And I feel like you're the type to probably work way too hard. So how do you manage? How do you manage? And I know this is something that every artist is trying to figure out. I feel like we never have the perfect answer to say I figured out burnout, but everybody has a way of managing and trying to make a sustainable long-term career. How do you do it?
So to be honest, like I do work hard. Like sometimes I sketch 8-10 hours a day, blah blah blah. But I also party hard. Like sometimes maybe a little too hard. Like I have a lot of like supportive friends. I go out a lot. Uh, yeah, and I don't think I've ever encountered like a harsh burnout. I felt like I couldn't create. It's never happened. The only reason I started drawing was because of my hand. If I had my like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, play hard. You should. All hard and no play makes blah blah blah.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
I, that's good. That's good. I think it's very important to have a good balance of that, and I'm really glad to hear you say that you are. You've never experienced that like severe burnout, because sometimes when that happens to you, especially if it happens to you frequently, you start to give up on the whole thing. You give up on the profession, and it can become you can feel a little hopeless when you're like so exhausted that you can't keep up and you're hurting. And I feel like as creatives, we should all do a better job of trying to manage our energy and go out. And even like, I feel like what makes our art valuable and make it really powerful is when we are going out there living life and then bringing it back to our creative work, and not just like work until burnout, so I'm happy to hear that. Let me check one more time if there are any questions. Uh, I see here that says, I'm proud of how far you've come and honored to have been there when you started. What inspired you to become an artist?
Okay, I don't want to give a long answer again.
Go for it. Go for it.
I've almost always all my life I've like shied away from being an artist. I mean, I went to engineering school. Like I feel like I accidentally fell into like the artist route. It wasn't. It was, it was never something I consciously dreamed of as a child. I've always liked art. I've always had it as a hobby. But I felt like I stumbled into being an artist. Mm, yeah. There's this story about this thing I read about like ancient Greece, like this one time in Athens, like like early in the morning, like the people found out like there's this statue of Zeus and it's all broken to pieces, and like everybody goes crazy, like Zeus is gonna smite us, it's gonna kill everybody, blah blah blah. And then like the city council come together, now who did this, and we have to find out. And the next week another statue of Zeus is found like decimated, and now the people like are really worried, and also so I have that this like police force and then trying to catch the perpetrator. And a couple of weeks later, they finally catch the guy, and the guy is like, like, we're gonna kill you, you're gonna hang, and like, do you have any last words? Why did you do this? And the dude was like, I'm like very poor, never done anything of note in my life, and if I die today, like nobody's gonna remember me. But now, like, everybody's gonna remember him because like he desecrated like this big ass statue, and then he's gonna be known for something. And I guess like like everybody wants to be important, and as an artist, like paradoxically, like if you want to do like good art, like if you're writing good stuff, I'm pretty sure like you've noticed it where like we're in the flow, like you're almost like you lose your sense of self. There is no sense of importance, or you don't really care. Like if you're writing something really good and like in your flow state, you don't really care what everybody thinks or how it's going to be received. And I think it's not less so than what inspired me for art is like I feel like art is therapy for somebody who wants to be important. Like if you want to be important, and I think that's a disease. And being an artist or trying to write something or trying to, I don't know, draw something, I think that's the cure. And I feel art, like I feel like I need art as more as a therapy than a career that I've been inspired to join into.
Wow,
I don't know if that makes sense. Did it make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. It's because the way you framed it, at least as far as how I understood it, is we're all seeking as we live in this world and we're experiencing many things, many emotions. We're all seeking to express ourselves to the world and be, found, important, and to belong, to be accepted. And some of us, since that is an overwhelming kind of experience, we use art to as our therapy, as a way to release that and out into the world and to find that connection. That is really, really an interesting perspective. I haven't heard
Yeah,
that
you
one.
summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, no,
You summed it up perfectly. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, I think that's gonna be for today. But I would love for you to let everybody know where they can find your work. Anything and everything you want to plug. Anything coming up for you. Of course, Carry On Anthology is coming up for you. But outside of that, the stage is yours. Take your time.
Don't have much to say, to be honest. You all can catch me at sketchy _strokes on Instagram. I have this graphic novel coming up that I'm working really hard on. I don't have a date for it. It's called Arada. If you follow my page, I'm probably gonna promote it. But then there's Carry On. It's coming up May 6th. You all should be really excited about it. It's not just me. It's like 23 other like African creators from all over Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria. It's amazing artists. It's full of like this really great stories about heritage and belonging and migration. So I would love for you all to check that out and support the project. You can find the link at Comics page, or it's also on in my bio. So yeah, please support the project. Thank you.
Awesome. That was awesome. For anybody who is interested, I put Shife's profile in the comments. Please go follow him. Please check out his work. I am honored to be publishing his first work here with it on Comics. I really can't wait.
It's actually my first work being published, Busrat. Like
that's what I mean. Like I'm just so honored that you chose us for that, and I hope we have much more collaborations to do. And so I'm really excited for folks to check it out. I think it's a phenomenal work. And again, thank you so much for showing up, Shife. Thank you for everybody who showed up, and asked questions and listened in. And we'll talk to you next time. Tomorrow, I think we'll have another interview as well. So see you next time. Bye, Shife.
Bye. Thanks, Busrat.
No problem.
Ciao.
All right. I think that ends.